right, microphone check. We seem to be good. All right, thank you guys for sticking around. As Abe mentioned, this is the final panel of our presentation. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you guys also for having the chance to speak with me here. We got a good amount of time here to talk about youth sports, and I think it's fascinating thing that we're going to be talking about it, right? Because youth sports touches on so many things, right? On communities, on families, on bringing people together, and of course, I think there's a good amount of money to be made on that, and I'm excited to be talking with you guys about that. So before we get started here, I'd like to give you guys all a chance to introduce yourself. Maybe Raj, we can start with you, and then we'll just work our way on down.
Sure, Rashid Ghazi, president of Paragon Marketing Group. Two things. One, this audience reminds me of youth sports because it's many times the audience is smaller, but it's really powerful. So thank you for all staying, and it's dedicated. And then our scheduling reminds me kind of when we work with ESPN, we televise all of ESPN's high school content, that we usually come well after Abe. We come after college sports are scheduled, professional sports are scheduled, and then we get those slots. So thank you for the slot, but hopefully over time we'll rise up.
My name is Drew Russell. I'm the Executive Vice President of Sports Properties and Media Assets at Intersport. One of the reasons I'm here is we've run sporting events for 40 years of our existence as a marketing agency based here in Chicago. And one of our premier clients is Under Armour. We architected the UA Next grassroots program, which is a middle school and high school program for Under Armour, and co-own and operate the Under Armour All-America High School football game.
I am Maya Steves. I'm the Vice President of Media Partnerships and Field Marketing at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. We have done a little bit of work in the school space and are starting to get much more involved in the youth sports space through our partners at Campus Multimedia. So yeah, Carl.
Carl Mawini, CEO and founder of Campus Multimedia. We say we're the leader in brand activation for K through 12 schools, and the reason we're here is we've been able to aggregate almost 84,000 elementary, middle, and high schools, and we create impactful brand partnerships that really allow our clients to live organically throughout the school year. And obviously, we do a lot of high school sports and Friday Night Lights. Yeah, I did not realize I was going to blend in with the chair wearing this jacket.
I'm wearing green too. I'm kind of with here too. So I guess let's get started on this thing, right? Because I think when you look around at youth sports, right, there's so many opportunities to get into, right? And I think depending on where you sit, because there's so many things. There's tech. There's all these like new platforms that are popping up. There's maybe like you guys over there over the Tropical Smoothie Cafe that are getting involved with partnerships, right? There's so many things. I guess when you look at all these partnerships, right, like how do you, I guess, define the opportunity that we live in right now in youth sports? And I guess more importantly, why are so many companies, brands jumping into this space? Maybe Rosh, we can start with you.
Sure. Like Drew, we've actually been selling and creating youth sporting events for over 30 years. And I think the marketplace has changed. When I first used to go out and talk to brands about a high school football or basketball game on ESPN, and it was even, our first game was with LeBron James, people still thought of youth sports as something that their kids may do, and they didn't look at the national television platform. But I think a couple things have happened over the past 10 or 15 years. One, there's been a consolidation of the space. So Ben was up here talking about TPG. We're part of Playfly, so you could literally go to two companies and buy every state championship in the country. Three Step has consolidated a lot of the youth club space, along with other companies. Social and digital media, whether it's streaming services or our handle with ESPN that we run called SportsCenter Next or Overtime Elite. There are more platforms, they're bigger, it's easier to access mass audiences through one or two companies. And then I think the other thing is there are a lot more people out there selling properties now. You just don't have a Paragon or Intersport with one or two properties. You've got multiple companies out in the marketplace talking to agencies and talking to clients about the youth sports, and it's kind of the power of all makes it more normal for more brands to want to get involved, and it makes it easier for brands to get involved.
I'd actually argue there aren't enough brands getting involved. I still see it over the course of the time that we've been in. I mean, you've got the apparel companies, you've got the sports beverage companies. Every once in a while, an insurance company will pop up. Military organizations have been a part of this throughout. But there are so many others that have the opportunity to be able to get involved in a meaningful way. I mean, I was mentioning this in the green room earlier. I have been, I started using Degree deodorant when I was 15 years old in high school, right? I haven't changed. I still wear Degree deodorant today. So if anybody from that brand, you've done a nice job with me over time. I've been chasing men's care and women's beauty for a lot of our properties for many, many years. There's opportunities to do massive sampling programs. There's opportunities to get their brand out in content and create those impressions. And if there are any men's care or beauty products in here that want to get involved, please let me know, because we've had such a hard time getting involved in that. So I think there are brands that really have an opportunity to make headway in the space, and it seems to still be small.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, from a brand side, 100% the opportunity is there. I think the challenge has been, up until this point, it has been pretty fragmented. You think about a brand like Tropical Smoothie Cafe, we have 1,600 locations across 44 states. So for all intents and purposes, we're national. But at the end of the day, it's all local business owners. These franchisee, we're all franchisee owned. We have one corporate location. So they're all local business owners in these communities. They rely on the community as the core to their business. So it's really important for them to go ingrain themselves in the youth sports space, in the schools. I mean, that is the foundation of their business. So, I think it's super exciting from a brand side to see companies like all of you guys coming in and starting to aggregate some of the opportunities, because the reality is, from a national perspective, it's very hard to go in and negotiate 50,000 different deals, right? I want to go write one check and have it activate in all 1,600 communities. So it's nice to see you guys stepping up into the space.
Yeah, and for us, I would define the space, the youth sports space, as vast and with many great options. But it's still very fragmented. It will stay that way, but not very scalable until at least now. And Ben said it in the previous session. It is like the early college rights holders days before he started stitching together these fragmented college rights. We're essentially doing that at Campus Multimedia, and Ben and Mike at Teal are doing that. We're doing it in the school space. We've been able to aggregate 84,000 elementary, middle, and high schools, and yes, elementary and middle schools, which we'll talk about. But brands are the reason brands are investing, and they're starting to take notice about that aggregation. Take one of our clients, Jersey Mike's. We run a national high school sports marketing program for them that we've been running for 6 years. It's actually called a Student Above. It's a play on their Sub Above. It spans across 6,000 high schools. It covers all 3,000 of the locations, and it drives real business KPIs for them with community engagement and sales. And that's just unprecedented scale that no one's seen before in this space. So look, we believe that the era of brands investing in youth sports is here, and we're hoping to lead the way with other companies like Raj and Drew. So.
And I think since the time that I was a kid, so much has changed, within the space. I used to play soccer when I was a kid. I wouldn't give it off, but I used to. And so much has changed since I was a kid, right? I'd love to hear from each of you guys, just really briefly, right? I guess from the time that maybe since you were growing up, maybe since the last 5 to 10 years, right? What do you think have been some of the biggest changes within youth sports?
You want to start?
So you can start with you.
Yeah, I think the biggest change in the past 5 to 10 years, one, social media. So you have athletes now. 20 years ago, Eddie Curry was a star in Chicago. He ended up being the number 2 pick in the NBA draft right out of high school. And he was a known entity in Chicago. This year, we work with A.J. DeBonsa. A.J. DeBonsa is getting about $7 million to go play at BYU. He has endorsement deals with Nike and Red Bull. And we did his college announcement live on First Take. And so you have athletes now in the high school space who are celebrities. They're media personalities. They will have 1 to 5 million Instagram followers. They're well known on TikTok. So I think when the personalities go from local market to national, I think that has changed the landscape. I think the other thing that has changed on the elite high school level, Ben was talking about state championships, which are big, but over 10 or 15 years, the biggest high school basketball or football games would take place if our company organized them for national television. What's happened is the world of that space has become smaller. So many schools now and promoters are connecting these teams through tournaments and big-time games, so fans are getting to engage across the landscape there. And I think the other big thing that's changed is we've televised over 1,500 national high school football games and basketball games, including women's sports, on ESPN over 10 years. So we'll put 100 to 150 pieces of product out there, NFHS Network, Baller TV, so the content is available to fans across the country now. And so there's this been where elite high school has become like college, that you can compare the teams, they can play, you can have a mythical national champion. And I think all those things have changed in the marketplace to create one large elite high school community across the country.
Yeah, I'll take the social media and content piece a step further. And I'll use an example from our UA Next All-America high school football game. Back in 2010, 2011, 2012, we'd have a players' lounge. It had all the amenities that these players would need. They'd spend a ton of time down there. And we would set up 3 laptop computers so they could go check their YouTube pages at the time and their huddle pages. And that was their access. None of them were walking around with phones. None of them were doing everything. Now, all of a sudden, over time, we weren't seeing as many athletes hanging out in the lounge anymore. What we realized is they had everything right at their fingertips. They were going back to their rooms. They were being a part of it. But they were also seeking more from the platform. They were coming to the platform not just to get instruction from the top coaches or not just to compete against other athletes. They wanted to build their platform. They wanted to create followers for them. They want everything that we do now as part of the UA Next program is content driven. Yes, it still ladders back up into Under Armour's mission of making athletes better, but if we don't have the content piece there to tell the story, we're not doing it any justice, and the athletes are seeking that intensely.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just echo what these guys have said. I think the social media landscape has totally changed it. You know, just the level, even think about competition. From when we were kids, you played a different sport every season, and now, you know, I have 3 kids who all play a lot of different things, and everything they do is year-round. There isn't just a season for sports. And so they want all of that film, and, you know, my high school freshman could tell you the top recruits in all of the sports and where they're going, and, you know, all the places that are recruiting them and how fast they run a 40, and like that stuff just wasn't accessible 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And so I think, you know, I think the way that social media, the creator space, like all of that is going to be interesting to watch over the next.
Yeah, for me it's easy. Yeah, for me it's easy. It's major outlets in the business world, sports business world, like Sports Business Journal, are starting to cover youth sports and elevating it as you guys are with this conference, having 2 back-to-back panels about it, and hopefully in the future you have more. But 10 years ago, 5 years ago, this would not be a topic on our agenda, and you guys have done that. So commend you guys for helping us uplift youth sports and making brands aware that it is a viable option to spend their marketing dollars, general marketing and or sports marketing dollars.
There's some real money, I think, to be found there. And I guess that kind of leads to the next thing that I want to ask about. Drew, I'll take this one over to you. I guess when you're looking at, you know, this field, I think it was mentioned before, and in my research and doing this thing, one word really frequently came up, and it's just how fragmented this space is, right? So when you're looking at potential like youth sports partnerships or sort of where to direct that money to, when you're telling maybe people where to direct that money to, like where are you telling them to go? Is it tech, you know? Is it maybe these like new platforms, and like the new NBC one, you know? Is it maybe like these giant complexes that we're seeing pop up, capable with like a bunch of other youth sports, you know, kind of where do you tell people to direct their dollars?
Listen, I think you've got to, it's got to be built on your company's strategy first and foremost. That's why I like what you said about a student above, because you've got to create a platform that then you can apply and use a bunch of strategic elements to be able to take it together, because it is so fragmented. So you need influencers. You need streaming elements and streaming components and partners in that side. You need the events. You need the experiential opportunities. But all of that is still going to remain disparate if you don't have that overarching theme as a part of that thing. That was one of the reasons why Under Armour created UA Next, because it meant something to all those athletes. And again, it laddered up into the Make Athletes Better strategy. So kudos to building that program, because I think that's really the approach that you have to take, because then you can use all those pieces and parts to build up into the overall platform.
I've got an interesting actually follow-up here from the audience that built into this thing. How do brands effectively activate at the youth sports level, you know, meaningfully beyond just like signage? We were talking about just like plastering a logo somewhere without breaking the bank or stretching human capital too thin. Anybody feel free to take that?
I think it's finding a partner like us, you know, and others in the space that have aggregated these thousands of youth sports leagues and our schools, where you can go to a hypothetical one-stop shop to then let them be turnkey and scalable and create meaningful partnerships with one call, and let us make those calls. And since we have those relationships with the schools and those sports partnerships, and that's what my Tropical Smoothie have allowed us to do. So it's utilizing the right partners that have those key relationships in these communities.
I think building upon what Carl said, we've sat here and listened to all of these CMOs talk about how they approach college and pro, and it's not about what they buy, it's about the strategy of what they're trying to accomplish, and then how they can lever that strategy of how to reach their target audience in the right way. And I think it's no different with youth. So if we take a number of our clients, Uniball is one of our clients, they wanted to impact high school kids on signing day and have them use their pens and be there for that special moment. So we enacted a test program at 12 schools. We'll be at 70 high schools across the country where we brand the signing day experience for all of these athletes. And it's not just elite Division I athletes, it's Division II, it's NAIA, Division III athletes, but we're able to put Uniball at the epicenter of a moment when kids are signing and using their pen. For Gatorade, we've been doing youth marketing for Gatorade for 20 years. We have over 50 people who work on Gatorade alone. We reach over 3 million youth athletes with Gatorade. We partner with over 400 youth properties. We're at 170 colleges in the summer, impacting kids when they're on the sidelines, and we're giving this authentic youth Gatorade experience through all of these properties for their elite athletes to have the same kind of experience that college and pros have, and to learn about, you know, the importance of hydration and nutrition as part of your athletic experience. So that program is about reaching a lot of young kids. For Nike, we run their elite youth basketball league, so we've created the first ever high school national league with 14 teams, including teams like Montverde and Oak Hill, many of you have heard of. Their objective is to impact kids in a positive way and to create better basketball players for college and for pro. So for Nike, we've created a television platform. We've developed 15 events across the country. We produce over 1,000 pieces of social media content for them to talk about the league. We run coaching clinics, and we build a platform which will attract elite athletes to come play at our schools and in our system. So again, it's customized based upon the client, their objectives, and their needs. And I think, as Carl said, one of the biggest things for brands is working with an agency that knows the space, knows who's to call, knows where to go, because the efficiencies of us rolling out a 200 high school program for Uniball around signing day doesn't happen unless you actually have those contacts in your Rolodex and people return your phone calls.
I got a question here from the audience that I was actually planning on asking in a little bit here because I've been having some conversations about this. For Carl, can you describe any differences brands take from high school to elementary and middle school activations?
Any differences between how they activate? Yeah, look, there's a big difference. Elementary schools, we are never marketing to the kids. We're actually coming alongside the schools to provide value to the schools. That's administrators, teachers, coaches, athletic directors, even up to superintendents on the district level. So we're really focusing on the schools and administrators and providing value to them, especially in elementary schools. A lot of our programs we do in elementary schools are centered around health and wellness, getting kids up and active. We have a partnership with Kids Mental Health Foundation, providing mental health kits. So it's on the elementary side, and it's a great question, focusing on providing value to the teachers and the administrators at the school level that will then flow down to the kids as well as the parents at home. And then on the high school side, look, it's a different audience. These teenage kids have they have buying power, and they also have influence over what their parents purchase as well. And they're building their brand loyalty early on with like a tropical smoothie that's going to last, like you said, with was it Unilever or the deodorant? Yeah, so they're building this out. So it is very different, but we still do everything for the school first on all levels, elementary, middle, high schools. And on the high school level, it's still going to the coaches, the school counselors, principals, and then getting to the student athletes and students as well as the parents.
Yeah, I guess for Drew, do you guys notice any real difference, in marketing, towards whether that's high schoolers, elementary kids, middle school kids? Is there much of a difference there for you guys?
I think high school becomes more and more complex. It's becoming more complex with name, image, and likeness and other elements like that. I think the lower you get, a lot of those players are getting these experiences on a more regular basis. When you get the lower level, there's a little bit more of an authentic connection with that athlete because they appreciate what's being done for them, maybe a little bit more than, and I'm talking elite athletes at this level.
Yeah. I would add to that, on the lower levels, it's not really much in the middle school and high school through those schools for us. It's through club and youth sports. And a lot of times you're looking to reach the parents and you're looking to reach the moms and the dads who are making purchasing decisions and the passion they have around their kids. And so for our clients, it's been more sponsoring the volleyball leagues, the national we've got a lot of clients who are in Little League Baseball. And so the club scene, when it comes to the younger athletes, has been really effective for us. And then the high schools combined with club, for the teenagers has been really effective.
Yeah, I guess I'll kick it back over here to Carl and Mike, because you guys obviously work together here with the Tropical Smoothie Cafe stuff, right? Like, we talked about authenticity, and I think you guys all in here have heard about authenticity really all day, right? Like, how do you achieve that, and how have you guys achieved that with the work that you guys are doing right now?
Yeah, for us, it's very easy because the main reason what we do is to provide value to schools, value through things they need and resources. So we actually call it our 3 R's, resources, recognition, and revenue. Resources. Literally the number one request we get from school administrators, and a lot of times it's coaches, athletic directors, is we want and need more ways to recognize our student athletes and students. Like, some of these coaches and teachers are going and buying a gift card at Tropical Smoothie because they want to give a kid, hey, $10, you did a great job, whatever. So that's resources coming alongside to give them value and utility that they use in their everyday life. Recognition. We just finished a national program with Maya Tropical Smoothie, and you said it, we name all of our programs. All of our programs are truly national. This one was called Sunshine for Teachers. It was a nomination program nationally where we asked the local schools communities to recognize administrators, teachers, coaches who brought sunshine into the classroom and onto the field. You can talk about it, but it was a huge success. Our first year, we saw over 12,000 nominations. A lot were coaches, athletic directors, went to public vote, and we saw almost 30,000 votes. So that was a huge success. And then really the third is revenue of the 3 R's. We do a ton of high school sponsorships. We actually work with Broward School District in Florida on their sponsorships district-wide, elementary, middle, and high schools, and we work with Paragon on one of their high-profile football showcases, where this year actually Mater Dei and St. Thomas Aquinas are going to be playing on ESPN. So we work closely with Raj and his team on the TV side, but the revenue side is really where schools with budgets being cut, it's a key thing. And frankly, we're doing a lot of sponsorships in elementary schools around field days. It's pretty cool. Your brands are coming into elementary schools and getting kids up and active through field days. But yes, on the recognition side, the Sunshine for Teachers, what Maya and her team did is utilize your in-store POP to promote the program as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I'm going to give a cheater's answer on authenticity, right? I'm a brand. We sell food and smoothies. It is very easy for us to show up authentically in a program like that in schools. So for us, it'll never be just about signage. Yes, of course, I want the recognition of the logo, but at the end of the day, I want high school kids and their families drinking our smoothies and walking around with our cups. Those are all walking billboards for us. So when you talk about Sunshine for Teachers, we came in, we had 20 finalist schools. We wrote checks to all of the schools. We wrote checks to all of the teachers. But the thing that I was most proud of is every single finalist school hosted a school-wide smoothie party, like a pep rally. So they, Campus Multimedia helped us organize that with all the schools. We got videos of these kids, high school kids, middle school kids, chanting our franchisees' names, like, thank you, Tropical Smoothie. Like, that's a memory that, that is paying dividends for the brand and the franchisee for years to come.
I would say first, if you haven't tried their watermelon mojito smoothie, you got to go out and get it right now on the way to the airport. And two, that is one of the things that I loved about the program the most is if you haven't worked with Maya and Tropical Smoothie, their franchisees are very hard to please. But this one pleased them a lot, and we heard from a lot of the local franchisees, reaching out to Maya and her team how much they loved it because it actually got them into the schools, for catering orders and things like that as well. So.
The other thing, I'm going to go back to one of your previous questions around like what we look for from an investment perspective. Obviously, like you guys all talked about, we want a partnership that's real and authentic and feels natural for the brand. But the other side that I think is interesting and probably a little bit unique for its franchise brand, right, and multi-location, is we look for partners and platforms and tools that we can then bring to our franchisees. So as an example, we work with a company called Force for Good. They sort of help us operationalize local spirit nights and fundraisers. So it's not there's no transaction directly with us and them, but it's a tool that we're able to then bring out to our franchisees to say, hey, you should be doing these local spirit nights. Here's this tool to help you organize and run fundraiser and give back nights. And so, from an innovation standpoint, I think the technology side of being able to scale programs like that, where it makes it easy for franchisees or multi-unit owners to partner with schools or teams, I think is the future.
I want to hear from each of you guys on this, but I guess what trends are you guys watching over the next 5 to 10 years that you think will most impact youth sports? Raj, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, I think NIL is a big one. especially when you're working with elite athletes or even with regular athletes. For Uniball, we wanted certain athletes to be profiled, and they weren't even top-tier names. So we actually signed NIL deals with athletes that we never would have to sign before for small amounts of money. But when you're talking about more elite athletes that are heading to college and then heading to the NBA or the NFL, we are dealing with agents. I never had agents attend my games. Now agents are front row. I would meet with parents of, like, I met with Chet Holmgren and his parents. I know him well. Never met an agent. Modest Bazilis, who was the first-round pick with the Bulls, hung out with his mom after a game, and he's got both his agents there as well. So NIL, in terms of how to navigate that, brands are signing agreements with athletes. Athletes are showing up at our event with those brands that may conflict with sponsors that we have. So how do we blend the two and set rules and regulations and spacing? So NIL is one. I think AI is another. As you know, if you've noticed, on a national level, coverage of youth and high school sports has been cut by most papers, right? And there have been cuts at other national sources as well. And I think AI is going to help change the game in terms of collecting data and information, and then ultimately providing more reporting on scores and schedules and stats. So if you play fantasy football like I do, I always get a report on my team the next morning that's written by a computer. I think that's going to happen more in the youth space as well. So coverage will actually expand, even if humans working on that coverage contracts.
I think technology and social media. 10 years ago, TikTok was Musical.ly, and nobody in this room would know what Musical.ly was. So what is that next platform? Where is everybody going to be gravitating to next? Because you don't know whether that's going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, but something else is coming that's going to capture their attention. The technology piece, too, is just there's so much more access. I mean, I love you talk about AI. One of my favorite things is to log on to Game Changer after so I can see, you know, the AI write-up of my daughter and how she played in the baseball game that day. And by the way, I'm sharing that with my parents and my brothers and sisters and everybody at home. So it's stuff like that that's a real connection, and that gives you an opportunity and a brand an opportunity to be able to engage in a deeper way.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that I'll go so far. I mean, I think the NIL space is fascinating, but I think in terms of sports, like I think more on the creator side. Like we're a brand, like I said before, that organically we benefit from a lot of high school athletes, pro athletes, college athletes walking around with our product, and we get that exposure organically. I think more and more we're starting to see people younger and younger try to monetize that, right? They're approaching us for partnerships, and I think as this creator world continues to just sort of explode, it'll be interesting to see that blend between, you know, these kids out there negotiating sort of brand deals for themselves and where agents fall and how that falls with, you know, their contracts and sponsorships and scholarships and all that stuff.
Yeah, Dovetail and Drew, I believe the trend is that youth sponsorships will be driven by technology and innovation. Imagine a world where brands can seamlessly purchase youth sports sponsorships with a touch of a button. That would fundamentally change the way sponsorships are bought and sold across youth sports and high school sports. We know the trend is coming because, frankly, we're building it. And we're rolling it out to schools and youth sports entities as we speak. So really, we're making it scalable, measurable, and easier for brands to buy across the country.
All right, we are all out of time. I'm going to hand it on over to Abe, and I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on this panel.
Thank you.
Very, very quickly, thank you for coming. Thanks for your support. Thank Donna Johnson on your way out. It was her program. She killed it. Please complete our survey. It's incredibly important. There's drinks on your way out, plenty of beer and wine. Help yourself. Stay close to SBJ. Take care of yourself. Safe travels. Thank you for being here, everyone.